The flashlight flickered just once before plunging him back into blackness. In the final instant of light, Adam saw it again. Those thin, soil-streaked fingers curling up from the crawlspace vent, no more than 20 feet away, clawing at the edge as if bracing to pull something through. The air vibrated with an unnatural humming, like a slow exhale from a cavernous chest beneath the house. He should never have agreed to stay the night.
Greetings, dreamers. Welcome to Sleep-Bound Secrets, where we share chilling horror stories to relax to. If you like content like this, remember to like and subscribe.
Rain battered the tin roof in a rhythmic frenzy. The house, a rotting colonial relic buried at the edge of a forgotten forest, smelled of wet wood, mildew, and the faint sweetness of old decay. Adam had come to photograph the abandoned properties of Kepler Hollow for a regional art show, but this place, the Marrow House, had a reputation far more sinister than its collapsed porch or shattered windows could explain. They said the land was wrong, that beneath its foundations the earth throbbed like something alive. Earlier that day, he'd found claw marks etched into the floorboards, long, erratic scrapes that veered wildly across the old nursery. More disturbing still were the stains, rust-colored blotches that soaked the corners, like something had tried to flee but couldn't make it out. He had taken pictures, of course, but even the lens seemed reluctant to record. The photos had come out blurry, warped, as if the shapes didn't want to be seen. Now, buried in the pitch-dark belly of the house, with nothing but that cursed crawlspace vent ahead of him, Adam listened. The humming had grown louder. He could feel it inside his chest, each vibration tugging at his heartbeat like puppet strings. He wanted to flee, but his legs had stiffened like cold iron. Then came the whisper. Not in any language he knew. Wet syllables pressed against his skull from inside. The flashlight flared back to life with a sputtering hiss, illuminating the crawlspace grill. Muddy drag marks led from its mouth, wide and deep, too wide for any ordinary animal. He backed away slowly. Behind him, something thudded. He turned. The door to the hallway had closed. No wind, no movement, just shut. The house held its breath. There's an instinct humans have, primal and ancient when something isn't right. The air was too thick. Each inhale tasted like iron. He felt watched, not from one direction, but all of them. He remembered reading about Marrow House's former owner, Dr. Elgar Marrow, an eccentric surgeon who practiced organic preservation. The town shut his clinic down after rumors surfaced about specimens found with open skulls and foreign growths replacing parts of their brain. Adam reached for his camera. He wanted proof, something tangible to justify the dread scraping along his ribs. As the lens pointed at the crawlspace grill, the grill rattled. He froze. Fingers, skeletal and glistening, wrapped the bars again. This time, a head followed, bloated and wrong, with slits where the mouth should be, and eyes like clouded glass. The thing heaved itself into view. It didn't blink, it didn't breathe, but it saw him. He staggered back. His boots slipped on the wet floor, and he crashed into a cabinet filled with yellowing jars. One shattered beside him, releasing a smell so putrid it caused his vision to blur. Pickled organs, eyes, tongues, limbs rolled onto the floor like offerings. The humming grew louder, almost melodic. Something was crawling out. Adam fled, stumbling through the narrow halls, past torn wallpaper and portraits whose eyes seemed to follow. He reached the staircase, but the steps were gone, rotten, collapsed into the basement. The walls pulsed. He turned toward the front door, still intact. He ran, but it was changing. The door seemed further away now, the hallway stretching like it was unraveling, boards curving with impossible geometry. From the crawlspace, the thing had fully emerged. It dragged itself with jerky spasms, its limbs stuttering like unfinished thoughts. Adam screamed, but the sound fell flat, swallowed by the house itself. His breath fogged, not with cold, but with heat, the interior growing humid and fetid, like an organism stewing in its own juices. The floor beneath him shifted, not creaked, shifted, as if something beneath was moving, contorting, rising. He ran. Closer. The door surged into view, but just as he reached for the knob, a pressure slammed against his back, launching him into the rotten wall beside it. He gasped. The creature loomed over him. Its mouth split open, not along the jaw, but vertically, revealing rows of twitching tissue. Adam closed his eyes, and then he sank. The floor opened like flesh splitting along a scar. He didn't fall. He descended, slowly, gently, into the hot, vibrating void of whatever pulsed beneath Marrow House. The light vanished, but the humming remained. When Adam awoke, there was no sense of time. The air was thick and tasted of soil and blood. He wasn't sure whether he was buried or cocooned, but the ground above seemed distant, muffled, as though the house itself had grown tired of pretending to be a structure and was now simply part of the creature that had taken him. He couldn't move, not because he was restrained, but because everything within him told him not to. He could hear others breathing, soft, shallow exhalations from all directions. There were people down there, or remnants of them. "Don't speak," a voice rasped from the dark. It wasn't a warning, it was a rule. Adam strained to listen. The humming was quieter here, but more precise, like threads being pulled across cartilage. He noticed a glow, pulsing faintly from ahead. The walls around him weren't stone or wood. They were organic, ribbed like muscle tissue, veined with faintly luminescent filaments. He crawled forward, drawn to the light. It opened into a cavern beneath the house, a womb-like chamber where dozens of bodies hung suspended in translucent sacks, swaying gently like jellyfish in a current. Their eyes were open, their mouths stitched shut. Some were still alive. He reached for one, an older man with a frayed parka still clinging to his chest. His eyes darted in panic as Adam approached, but he shook his head slowly, mournfully. That's when Adam saw it. Their bodies were changing. Roots, thin and black like nerves, were burrowing into the flesh from below, curling up inside their chests, threading through bone and ligament. The house wasn't just devouring them, it was rebuilding them, integrating them. "I tried to leave," came the whisper again, a woman this time, her face nearly covered by creeping strands. "But the marrow wants to remember." Adam's breath faltered. Marrow. Not a name, a body part, a function. The house wasn't haunted by the past, it was the past, a living memory etched into soil and timber. Dr. Elgar hadn't gone mad, he'd succeeded. His organic preservation technique had worked, and now the house wouldn't let go. The chamber shuddered. A pulse like a heartbeat shook the earth. From the far wall a figure began to emerge, towering, faceless, composed of stitched limbs and fused organs. It didn't walk, it drifted. Every sack shivered. The thing approached Adam with reverence, pausing inches from his face. He saw his own features reflected in its bloated surface, his memories, regrets, fragments of guilt. It had taken more than his flesh. It had taken his story. Then the humming ceased, and silence took hold. Adam's scream never came. His voice, his name, even the air inside him, surrendered to the house. The Crawlspace sealed, the porch sagged once more, and the Marrow house waited patiently for the next curious soul to document its hunger.
They had warned her not to kayak past the fog line. "No one hears you if you fall in," the innkeeper said, voice brittle with years of superstition. But Elise wanted solitude. The lake was smooth as glass, the mist curled like smoke across the surface, and her rented cabin by the shore felt too tidy to inspire the art she came here to create. She paddled past the fog line at 6:42 a.m. The water turned still. Not just calm, but stilled, like breath held in a dying chest. Her oars left barely a ripple. Elise noticed something odd. The temperature dropped sharply, and the fog around her thickened, forming spirals that clung to the edge of her kayak. It wasn't moving naturally. It swirled inward, as if drawn toward her. Then she saw it. A rooftop. Not an object floating on the lake. A rooftop emerging from beneath. Steep, slate-shingled, with moss clinging in heavy threads. She blinked, thinking it was a trick of light. But the structure was there, whole. A house beneath the lake's surface, with windows intact and light flickering inside. Her kayak drifted toward it. There was no current, but she was moving. Elise reached over the edge to touch the water, frigid, viscous, like liquid rubber. Her fingers burned. She recoiled, only to realize the kayak was directly above the house now. And then it stopped. A low vibration spread through the hull, rhythmic like a heartbeat. Below, in the lake's depths, she saw movement, figures behind the glass of the submerged house, slow silhouettes, watching. She should have turned back, but the mist clung tighter. Then came the sound, a knock from under the kayak. 1, 2, pause, then 3 fast thumps. The surface opened, not with violence, but elegance. A circular ripple beneath her widened and lowered the kayak into the lake like an offering being accepted. She didn't scream, couldn't. Her lungs felt compressed. Elise tried to grasp the sides, but the water didn't splash. It parted, calmly. She sank. Not fast, not natural. The lake swallowed her with ceremonial slowness. The world above blurred, then vanished. She descended into darkness, but the house remained lit. As her kayak touched down on the roof, the mist rushed away, revealing the full outline. A Victorian relic, with ornate trim, its porch sunken into the muck, lanterns glowing in impossible warmth. She was dry. The water was gone. The air inside the lake pulsed with a thin electricity. Elise climbed down. No walls stood between her and the entrance, only perception. She stepped through the front door, and instantly her thoughts became louder. Each memory unfurled before her. Arguments with her sister, the sound of her childhood piano, the scent of fire from that one night she couldn't forget. The house was reading her. Inside, rooms shifted as she walked. She entered the kitchen. It morphed into a hospital room. Her mother lay on a bed, but her mouth was missing. Only eyes remained, wide and damp. She turned, and the hallway behind her was no longer wood-paneled. It was tiled. Old asylum tiles, cracked and red-stained. Something moved behind the walls. A voice whispered, not in sound, but in feeling. You brought us your thoughts. Now we show you ours. Doors opened. Each room held a moment not hers. A woman screaming in a swamp. A child feeding birds from an empty crib. A man carving faces into the floorboards with a knife made of bone. Elise tried to flee, but the front door now led to a staircase, downward. Every step she took stripped something from her. Her name, her reason, her sense of time. Mirrors on the walls showed her face unraveling. Smile first, then eyes, then outline. She reached the bottom. A single chair sat in the center of an enormous flooded room. Hanging from chains above it were notebooks, handwritten entries from unknown tenants. Pages floated loose, spinning in the still air. She read one. The lake finds artists. It drinks dreams, then it makes them rooms. She looked up and realized there were hundreds of such rooms, all part of the house, all submerged, all born from minds who crossed the fog line and thought they were alone. She stepped into the chair. The water returned, closing in like a lung expanding after a long silence. Above the lake, the mist parted once more. A new rooftop gleamed briefly before vanishing beneath the surface. And from the shore, no sound echoed, only quiet.
The security footage showed her entering the elevator at 3:47 a.m. alone. Red hoodie, black duffel bag, no visible distress. The problem was what happened next. The elevator stopped on the 14th floor, but the building didn't have one. Miles had been auditing the footage for the estate company after reports surfaced of strange disturbances inside Langridge Tower, a sleek corporate residency in the city's forgotten business district. Strange noises, power fluctuations, tenants reporting that time felt warped. And now this woman who no longer appeared on building records. She had stepped into elevator B, the older one, with the uneven motor hum and faint scorch marks near the floor buttons. Something about her posture disturbed him. She didn't stand in the center. She leaned slightly to the left as though avoiding something unseen. He rewound the clip and saw it. As the doors shut, the digital panel blinked. Floor 12, then 13, and then something flickered, almost subliminal. Not 14. FLOR. Miles zoomed in. The panel glitched momentarily before stabilizing to 14. He slowed the playback. The light inside dimmed, not mechanically, but like shadows had thickened. Her breath fogged in the air, though the tower was fully climate-controlled. Then the elevator stopped. She didn't move. The doors opened. Darkness. Static washed over the footage, but in its brief clarity, something stood in the hallway beyond the elevator. A tall, narrow shape with limbs slightly too long and posture that mirrored hers, tilted and wrong. She stepped out, not in fear, in familiarity. Miles blinked. The timestamp vanished. The footage ended. He pulled building blueprints. Langridge Tower had 32 floors, no 14th. The elevator code confirmed it skipped from 13 to 15, always. But something in him resisted the rational. He remembered rumors from years ago, how Langridge was built over a demolished asylum, one where patients were kept in underground chambers labeled by floor, not depth. Floor 14 had been sealed, after an unexplained incident. All records scrubbed. That's when the email came. No sender. The elevator stopped. You're next. Miles froze. His screen blinked twice, then stabilized. The cursor moved on its own, highlighting the surveillance archive folder. His hand trembled as he clicked. Inside were dozens of clips, silent, grainy, time-stamped 3:47 a.m. All of them showed people entering elevator B, always alone, always at that time, always vanishing onto floor 14. Miles called building security. No one answered. He grabbed his badge and rushed down from the 27th floor. The lobby was empty. The night concierge was gone. Elevator B stood open, waiting. The panel gleamed. He stepped in. It smelled faintly of copper. Miles pressed 13, then 15. Nothing happened. The panel flickered. A low, humming static filled the cabin. The light dimmed. Then it stopped on 14. The doors slid open with a groan. Fog clung to the hallway beyond. The walls were wrong, raw concrete veined with dark cracks, pulsing faintly. Miles stepped out. It felt like breathing soup. The air was hot and moist, not industrial, organic. The hallway extended ahead, with numbered doors on each side, but they weren't labeled in sequence. They were labeled with names. His name was on the last door. As he approached, the humming grew louder, sharper. It began forming words inside his skull. Not heard, injected. Once you are seen, you never return. He opened the door. Inside was a mirror, and his reflection wasn't breathing. It stared with a slight tilt. From the corner, a shape unfurled, long arms dragging, mouth split vertically like a seam, filled with twitching black threads. It didn't move toward him. It reached inside him. Miles turned to run, but the door was gone. Behind him, the mirror shattered, and the footage resumed. At 3:47 a.m., the elevator B doors closed again. The woman in the red hoodie had returned, but now her head tilted further. Her arms hung lower. She leaned as though something had fractured beneath her. The timestamp vanished again, and Langridge Tower waited for the next audit, the next whisper of curiosity. Floor 14 was never on the plans, but it always remembers who opens the door.
That's all for this story. I hope this helped calm your racing mind and put you in a sleepy mood. Sweet dreams. See you next time.